Ladies and gents, welcome back. Fertilizer is the topic of today's discussion. It is probably one of the most important things to keep our society and civilization and humanity around for generations to come. Now, why is it not being discussed more in the media? I'm unaware of why that happens to be the case, but again, I'm not going to bury the lead to this story. This is a train wreck that happened, you may not have heard about, only a few days ago in Alberta. This is a derailment of potash train cars that happened in Alberta. And again, you probably haven't heard about it. Now, why is that the case? And this is obviously a terrible, terrible train wreck here. Now let's look at the story that's been buried. Train carrying potash derails east of Fort McLeod in southern Alberta. Train carrying potash derailed in southern Alberta Sunday morning. Fort McLeod RCMP police and fire crews were called to the derailment at East Fort McLeod. At 8:15, police said it happened along Highway 3 between the Range Road 251 and Range Road 252. And I've got this thing playing audio back at me again. RCMP said the train was heading west. About 43 cars carrying potash derailed. There are no injuries or concerns to public safety, the RCMP said. CP Rail has also responded to the incident. CP personnel have responded to the scene and recovery operations are underway. The cause of the derailment is under investigation. Read a statement from CP Rail. And the RCMP said traffic along Highway 3 is being rerouted to allow crews to work. The detour is expected to last several hours, police said before 11:30. Westbound traffic is being diverted. Okay, so just traffic report. And that is what we get from Global News here. Now, no context to the situation. No, just incident occurred, bury it into the the last pages of the newspaper. So here we have from Reuters, giving me a hard time getting to the actual story. Canadian Pacific freight train carrying potash derails in Alberta. No injuries reported. Now, it goes in to explain all that stuff that we just heard from Global News, and then goes into a little bit of the context, only to just, again, not talk much about it. Canada is the world's biggest producer of potash, a key ingredient for importing nitrogen-containing fertilizers, followed by Russia and Belarus. Wow, okay, so we're the biggest, and then there's Russia and Belarus. Potash prices have soared in recent months as Belarus, Russia's ally, became subject to sanctions by Western countries, along with Russia, of course. So we're not getting potash or fertilizer from Belarus or Russia. That's kind of a big deal, especially if Europe is going to rely on Canadian supplies along with Canada and North America. Canada depends heavily on its rail system to move commodities and manufactured goods to ports. No more information. Wow, this is amazing. So in recent times, we've had reports, and I did a report on this a few weeks ago. Strange trend of food processing plant fires appear across the U.S. At least 16 fires have broken out at food processing plants, impacting the nation's supply of beef and poultry. There have been an outbreak of fires in food processing facilities across the nation in recent years, with even more in the last 6 months as food prices soar and supply chains are stressed to further limits. This is really interesting. This is from timcast.com. I'll leave a link in the description down below so you can read the article. But here we have a situation where food is in short supply, and the stuff that helps make food is also in short supply. And the media seems to be very, very quiet about it. Now, how important is this stuff? How important is this? We have this article from National Geographic here. Global food crisis looms as fertilizer supplies dwindle in National Geographic here. think the global fertilizer shortage is something else, someone else's problem, take a look in the mirror. If you're reading this in North America, Europe, or Latin America, or Asia, chances are the bundle of amino acids staring back at you is alive today because of chemical fertilizers. In fact, according to noted Canadian energy researcher Vaclav Smil, 2/5 of humanity, more than 1 billion people, are alive because of nitrogen fertilizers, the main ingredient in the Green Revolution that supercharged an agricultural sector in the 1960s. The chemical fertilizer trifecta that tripled global grain production, nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, enabled the greatest human population growth in the planet has ever seen. Now it is in short supply, and farmers, fertilizer companies, and governments around the globe are scrambling to avert the seemingly inevitable tumble in crop yields. Interesting enough, there is a group of people right now meeting in Davos that is not happy about the explosion of population growth around the world. And well, I mean, I'll let you think of the connections there on your own. I'm not sure it's possible anymore to avoid a food crisis, says World Farmers Organization President Theo de Jager. The question is how wide and how deep it will be. Most importantly, farmers need peace, and peace needs farmers. Why are we in all this trouble? Why? Because we have people who nickname themselves the elites are having a spat over in another part of the world, and we're all suffering because of it. Do any of us have any problems with any people on the ground? I don't think so. It's kind of a problem of people who like to call the shots over here. Vladimir Putin's invasion of Ukraine was a bloody blow, was a body blow to an industry that has been hammered by various events for more than a year. Russia typically exports nearly 20% of the world's nitrogen fertilizers, and combined with its sanctioned neighbors, Belarus, 40% of the world's exports of potassium, according to an analyst at Robobank. Most of that is now off limits to the world's farmers, thanks to Western sanctions and Russia's recent fertilizer export restrictions. So the policy of our leaders of no dialogue, which we saw take place even in our domestic their domestic policies here in Canada when it came to protests, do not discuss with no diplomacy at all. We don't discuss things, we just shut things down, is not seeming to work for us on a global scale either. This is really causing a lot of trouble here. If you speak to a farmer in North America or Oceania, the main talk is fertilizers, specifically the price and availability of fertilizers. De Jager told a virtual conference on the subject recently, prices are more or less 78% higher than average in 2021, and this is cracking up the production side of agriculture. In many regions, farmers simply can't afford to bring fertilizers to the farm, or even if they could, the fertilizers are not available to them. And that's not just fertilizers, but agrochemicals and fuels as well. This is a global crisis, and it requires a global response. So I'll leave the link to this article as well in the description down below. But yeah, what do you guys think? Leave a comment in the comment section down below, and let's discuss this. Let's talk about fertilizers. Let's talk about global issues with supply chains. Who's responsible for this, and how can we get things back in order? Is there a possibility of reaching a settlement with global leaders and people hard-nosed and not wanting to speak with each other when the rest of the world is looking to move on and get on with their lives and just grow and consume food. This is what's going on. Anyway, I'll leave you guys with that. This is a story that's not being talked about much in the media, so please share it around, get it out there, and we'll see you in the next video. Keep on trucking.